Joining me now to talk about these cases and the rising likelihood that James Comey indeed will be facing investigation, Chris Farrell. He's Director of Investigations and Research for Judicial Watch. And it is clear, Chris, that much has changed in Washington of late, where James Comey and Hillary Clinton, it seems, are facing rising prospects that they may be held accountable for their conduct.
It's shocking, but I'm encouraged. I mean, back in July of 2016, after Comey's preposterous press briefing about Hillary Clinton's violation of national security law, in my opinion, Comey should have been under investigation at that point. But okay, we got to hold our breath a little bit and wait a while. But I think the FBI, 3 days of White House briefings, the FBI might call that a clue as to what the expectations are from the White House.
Well, there are a rising number of clues and a bill of charges that the Department of Justice is pursuing against Comey. And as you say, many have had questions about his conduct, his statements, his actions leading up in the weeks and indeed the months before his firing by President Trump. Suddenly, the left has gone silent on the issue of James Comey's conduct. It is really interesting to watch the national left-wing media no longer so enamored with the fired FBI director, no longer questioning, at least in their reporting and op-eds, the judgment of the president. He looks rock solid right down the line in objecting to the conduct and the behavior of the director that he fired.
Exactly. And don't forget, the silence on the left also coincides with Hillary's book tour. Don't forget that. But, what's particularly disturbing to me is when Comey was providing his sworn Senate testimony, he laid out the fact that he leaked all this information.
Yeah.
And
Proudly.
And the senators sat there and thanked him.
Yeah.
I mean, he should have been read his rights and taken out of the room in cuffs. Comey has a long track record, and I've been on the record for literally years saying that Comey isn't what he appears to be. He's the kind of guy who believes his own press releases, and he circled himself with sycophants who just kept telling him how great he was. But I know firsthand that he had knowledge of a Department of Justice Inspector General investigation of the El Paso office of the FBI, and he covered that up. And there's real criminality and corruption in that office, and it's yet to be resolved.
And you mentioned Hillary Clinton. Now a judge ordering a Barr investigation of attorneys who destroyed evidence, that is, in the deletion of those 33,000 emails.
Right.
We are further watching an order to produce all of the relevant material at the State Department that would pertain to her activities. There is a mounting, it looks to me, a mounting case being built, at least publicly, that says Mrs. Clinton is in serious jeopardy now of a full-on investigation and prosecution.
And there's an entire body of evidence that Judicial Watch has uncovered through our Freedom of Information Act litigation and the depositions we've taken of people like Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin and others. So, all of that is good or is solid evidence, even though it's been uncovered through a civil process. It's still under oath. It's still part of the universe of information that's out there. And frankly, it's another few logs on the fire.
Right. And the fire there is a fire now. It's not just simply embers, to continue the metaphor. We're watching a relationship between Comey's investigation and the conduct of Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State for that entire period in which effectively he exonerated her 2 months before the investigation, never put together a grand jury for the purpose of investigating her and making a determination about prosecution, and further, never touched the obvious pay-for-play scam that is the Clinton Foundation.
Correct. And, there's virtually no daylight between the Clinton State Department and the Clinton Foundation. We have the emails to demonstrate that, where Doug Band is emailing Huma Abedin and telling her what to do, setting up meetings, phone calls, that kind of thing. That's beyond dispute. And if you want to take the time to investigate something, go look at that. Go look at Uranium One. That should be occupying investigators' time.
And yet they have resisted doing that. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, Chris, as we wrap up here, it seems that there is some passive-aggressive approach at the Justice Department right now. In one moment, he will step forward, in another, he will step back. Where is the Attorney General and your judgment of how he is performing right now, given all that is before us?
He's AWOL. He's absent and he's very quiet. If he chooses to do that as far as his role as the Attorney General, that's one thing. But then he better have a good press operation going. So if he wants to keep a low profile, that's fine. But his press operation better be communicating clearly and effectively to the American public about what the Department of Justice is doing. Neither is occurring. We don't see the Attorney General, and we don't see a press operation that's at least getting the word out. And to have both fail, to have both silent, is really a disservice to the president.
And troubling, frankly, even for those of us who believe strongly in his talent and his commitment to the country. It is without question troubling.
He's a great guy, but he's got to communicate better.
Yes, sir. Chris Farrell, Judicial Watch, head of investigations, member of the board. As always, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Lou.